Low Tide Wivez, a Swimrun podcast. I am Kristen.
And I am Susan, and this is episode 200 of the show.
In case you didn't notice, you might be missing your usual hosts. Susan and I have taken over for episode 200, just to sort of celebrate and give a little peek behind the curtain at what's going on behind the show.
Yes, you'll hear the other half of the Low Tide voice tonight.
Don't worry, though. We actually have like a couple of real things to talk about. So we will be actually talking about Swimrun. But I think it's kind of just a good opportunity for us to just say hi to everybody and, you know, just get to show you guys a little bit of what it's like to be married to non-swim runners.
Right, exactly.
Okay, Susan.
Yes.
Do you remember when the guys started talking about this?
I want to say it was around the time the pandemic started. Mm-hmm. I mean, back then, a lot happened, so it's kind of a blur. But I remember being in the garage a lot, spending time with Chris and having Chipper come over. And I think that's when it started, around 2019.
Yeah, it's kind of, it's funny looking back now because I remember Chipper saying he wanted to start a podcast about it too. And I was like, all right, like it's not like we're not busy, you know, let's throw a podcast in the mix too. But it's fun to see how big of a piece it kind of became of all of it too.
We never expected it to become as big as it did, for sure. Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. I thought it was going to be up there with baking bread over the pandemic.
Sadly, baking bread has slowed down in our house, and I do miss that piece of it. But yeah, it's funny. We kind of joke in our house that the boys are kind of like, we call them niche celebrities. Because every once in a while we'll be at a race or we've done a small race or two and the kids will be there and everybody knows the Low Tide boys. And the kids are always like, Dad, are you famous? And I'm like, he is definitely not famous. Please do not think that your father is famous.
Right.
But people kind of like him in this area.
Yeah. You know, I hear that a lot too from Chris. Although I've never actually experienced it in person, but he'll tell me stories like, we were at this race and people came up and asked for autographs and asked for photos to be taken. And I just, smile and be like, hey, that must be a great experience.
It's so funny. It's just so interesting to see. But I think the main thing, it's like there was a real space for this to sort of be created, right? Mm-hmm. And one thing that I think Chipper and Chris have really focused on over the last 199 episodes, I think, is really trying to be just open, honest, enjoying the sport, trying to get as many people as possible, into the idea and make it really accessible. And I think that's kind of been really fun to watch. But and they're just, they like it. If you've ever met them in person, they love talking about it. Yeah. My God, the conversations.
Yes. Yeah, I totally agree with you. The energy is very infectious. Like for me who, I'm not an endurance sports person, but just hearing them talk about it, like trying to build this community of people and just like the giddiness that they express when it comes to Swimrun. It's pretty cool. Yeah, I definitely get caught up in it just because of their enthusiasm.
Yeah. But you know what though? I could do without the long weekend workouts.
Oh, for sure. Or the week and a half of trip to Sweden. That was a long time.
That was a long trip.
Yeah.
So, I think, looking back at everything that they've done, what did you think about when we finally got to see them race when we went to the Folsom race last year?
Yeah. I was just thinking about that the other day that because of the pandemic and just the how hard it is to travel with young kids, not even with the pandemic around. The first time I actually saw them do a swim run was at Folsom. Mm-hmm. And it was pretty cool to watch, I have to say, because leading up to then, it had all been, just them describing it, maybe still photos, just kind of hearing it through their race reports, but actually seeing them like suited up in their wetsuits, tethered, running together, and they were really in sync.
Yeah.
That was really cool to watch. And then just seeing the other folks, in the race come out too. That excitement. Yeah, it was pretty cool to see in person.
Yeah, it's kind of a funky sport because, you know, you run in your wetsuit and all the things that people already know about this. But I know we had both been to triathlons before,
yes.
right? Where you have the transition areas and that kind of stuff. And, you know, it's kind of fun when you get to see them a couple times sort of go by. But this was different in that, you know, you kind of get to see them a little bit and then they're gone for a while, but you kind of, you know, at Folsom, you got to see them a few times and it was really fun for the kids, I think, to see them.
Oh yeah.
That was probably the best part, like watching them get to see it and like, oh yeah, that's them.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's true. The kids were super excited to watch them run by. And then during the swim too, like we would like look out into the water and be like, okay, we see a couple people in the water. Is that them? I mean, are they in the lead? You know, watching them come in. It was really cool to watch. And yeah, like what you mentioned before, like, you know, both of them have done endurance sports before Swimrun, like lots of triathlons, lots of endurance races. And we've been able to participate and our kids too have in some of those races. And yeah, there's always that kind of excitement, especially at the finish line, you know, just watching them come in. So yeah, it was different, but it was that's sort of vibe.
Yeah. It's kind of just, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
Just having like watched it and the progression of the racing over time. But I will say it is fun watching those like sort of smaller races where you get to see them a bunch of times and it's a little bit less pressure. You know, it's a little bit more enjoyable, that kind of stuff too.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Susan, I think one of the things that I have always found really interesting about the Chris Chipper dynamic is the fact that Chris can literally listen to Chipper talk for such long periods of time. I think that's a real skill. And he's just so calm through it. But I always just think they're such a pair.
They are. I think for them to spend that much time together doing this podcast and practicing and doing swim runs, like you got to get along with someone really well. And they definitely do. I remember at one point, I don't know, maybe, you know, when they were starting the podcast, I was like, I think you spend more time with Chipper than you do with me.
Right. All those weekend runs. Yeah.
Right. And I was like, I think you text Chipper, you know, way more than you text me. So yeah, Chipper at that point was like, you know, his, you know, work wife or work buddy or whatever that term is.
It's so true. It's like the personalities just work together because I can't really think of somebody else I would want to work out with for that amount of time.
That's a lot of hours spent together.
I don't know that I could run next to Chipper for that long.
Oh no, I've ran with Chris before, and at some point I get
like, that's enough. Yeah. That's enough.
Yeah.
With the meme account that they do on Instagram.
Yes.
So back when they first started it, I remember that was kind of one of the big pieces that they started, right? It was like just, you know, opportunities were rife. They could do all kinds of stuff.
Yes.
And I remember them constantly texting each other all of their new ideas.
Oh, yeah.
And then they'd be like, what do you think of this one? And then they'd post it. And they'd be like, oh, we got so many likes on this. And I'm like,
right.
I know you're going to post it anyway. Why do you got to send it to each other first? You know, all these, or they'd go through a couple different iterations trying to get the language right. And it's like, it's so funny. It's like, it's a meme. I don't think you have to try quite that hard, but it's fun seeing that too. Yeah,
I thought the memes, you know, and I still think they're a great idea because, like Chipper and Chris, they're both natural jokers, right?
Yeah.
They like to be funny. They like to make people laugh, and memes is just another way of their, you know, channeling their you know, their you know, sense of humor or whatever on the sport out into the world. And there are definitely times throughout the day where, like, you know, Chris and I can be talking, and then we'll be talking about something random, and then all of a sudden he'll be like, you know, that would make a good meme. I'm going to text Chipper about this.
Yep, that tracks.
Yeah. The wheels in the head are always going about memes. Yeah.
Or it'll be funny. I think Chris is the one who runs the memes for the most part. And every once in a while, I think Chris will be like, I have to work this weekend, or I have something going on. And Chipper's like, whoa, I'm on meme duty this week. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay, you need ideas? And he's like, I think I got it.
He's got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Do you think you would ever do a swim run?
You know, I've been asked that question before, and I would say it would be a long time in coming because I actually don't know how to swim.
Susan,
Yeah,
no.
yeah. It's this weird thing that I never learned growing up, and if you throw me into a pool, I can maybe go like dog paddle a couple laps. But
I never knew.
yeah, just never think growing up. Yeah.
You've never said that. We've like been to pools together.
But I probably holding onto the side of the pool or just on the shallow end. Like I would be terrified of open water swimming. Like I don't think I could go. Yeah.
I can swim and I don't think I'd want to do any open water swimming. Wow, Susan.
Yeah.
We should have put you in lessons with the kids this summer.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, I'll be in with the 3 and 4-year-olds and just learning. I'll be happy. Well,
Okay.
Bring up joining swim runs though. Like, I don't know if Chipper has ever like asked Charlie or Sunny if they're interested in joining a swim run when they're older.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh yes. I imagine Chris is also asking the kids.
Yes.
And the kids are like, yeah, of course. They're all about it. I think they would totally do it.
Yeah. Yeah, Chris said the same thing. He said when she's older, got to get her swimming lessons in, but he and Rocky, our daughter, will definitely do a team, like a father and daughter team. And I was like, that's so cute.
I know. I'm like, I would go and take pictures.
Yeah.
I would love it.
Yeah.
It would be terrifying also, but I would love it.
Right.
But yeah, I do think, I think at the Folsom race, there was like a 14-year-old who did it with their
That's
parent. And I
right,
remember Charlie
yeah.
was like, oh, a kid can do
That's
this?
right,
And I think
yeah.
it kind of like clicked a little bit.
Right,
So.
right. Yeah. That's right. That's why we got to keep putting them in swim lessons.
And Susan too.
And me too.
When it's warmer. Ugh. I know the guys have done their big sort of European trip.
Mm-hmm.
Our plan as of right now
Yes.
is to do a big, both families,
Yes.
European trip next year and get a race in. I actually do have the race name written down, but I don't want to say it out loud and say it wrong. So we'll just be taking a trip next year.
I know the country is Switzerland.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Safe.
But, and it starts with an E. But how to pronounce it, I don't know.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. I think that'll be fun.
Yeah. We've been talking about it. Actually, on Saturday, we went to the passport office to get the passports for the kids and myself. So we were like telling the kids, like, hey, we're going to go to Switzerland. And they were like, okay, well, what's in Switzerland? And we're like, well, there's going to be a race there. But we also, but the kids, we're like, oh, there's going to be chocolate and Swiss watches.
Ah, yes, the Swiss watch. Every child's desired souvenir. Yes, the chocolate.
Right.
Sell.
That was the selling point, or at least our 4-year-old son was like, yeah, it's chocolate. I'm there.
Yeah, I mean that's why I'm going. So.
Yeah,
So I'm in.
yeah.
But I think that'll be fun too, and it'll be kind of interesting to see them traveling and doing this sport. I feel like this is a very like equipment intensive. Well, maybe that's just like my impression because the guys talk about their pool buoys all the time.
Yes.
But so maybe I think there's more equipment involved than there actually is. But
That's right. Yeah.
seems like a lot. But
I mean, yeah, they have their packing list that they prepare. They talk to each other about like length of tether cords.
so much tether
Yeah.
stuff happening in the week before travel. I'm like, haven't you had a tether on this the whole time? Haven't you raced before?
Right. Yeah. But I am also looking forward to the trip, just like seeing them in their element.
Yeah.
Because there was so much talk about when they went to Attila and just kind of seeing that international context. I think it's going to be super interesting. And, and just like, they always say the Europeans are way more into swimrun, even though it's growing in America. So I'm kind of like, I wonder what it's going to be like over there with the fans over there. Yeah.
And it feels like a lot of the way that the islands are and the way the spacing of everything is, it's like there's a lot of really cool places for it too. So it's kind of fun to see like in a more natural sort of element for that kind of thing.
Right, instead of jumping off of like, the dock, you're running on
Folsom
the trail
Lake where you swim one direction and back again,
exactly.
which is great too. But it'll be kind
yeah.
of fun to see it sort of in its original sort of areas.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm excited. Yeah.
Well, I will also not do a swim run. So if you could just hold off on learning to swim, actually.
Even if I learned to swim, I don't know if I would do it.
It's too cold.
Yeah.
It's too cold. I can't. I'm sorry.
I mean, props to everybody who do it.
Yes.
I'm just not the endurance sports type, It's cool that there's one in the family.
I like to be the support team.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a good role for me.
Yeah.
Well, I think this has been kind of fun just to reflect on the guys and all of that. And it's amazing to think that they've done this for over almost 3.5 years now.
Yeah.
Oh my God. We probably should have checked that before we started talking about it. Sorry, I shouldn't have said it.
Well, yeah, over 3 years, 4 perhaps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Such a long time. But it's kind of cool to see how much has come out of it and the community that's been built and all of that. It's been fun and, learning about a sport that I literally had no idea existed until Chipper walked in and was like, hey, Kristen and I have been talking about this thing called Swimrun.
Yeah.
Like, oh, cool. What's that? And here we are.
Yeah. Definitely a sport I'd never heard about before. Like we talked about earlier, I thought it was just like, one of those things that, they heard of, got into, but who knew, 3-4 years later, I'd grown into something like this. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to see like the two of them, working within the community to really grow the sport in the U.S. and kind of be an ambassador to it.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome considering, it takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
And, they're like dads and have jobs on top of everything too. So
yeah.
Pretty cool to watch. Yeah.
It's fun. It gives a different sort of purpose to all these like weekend workouts and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For sure.
But,
yeah.
Actually, before we leave.
Yeah.
I forgot. I wanted to tell a story with Sunny. So one day the kids were playing and I think they were married and had a baby or something, right? Just brother and sister playing along. And all of a sudden, Sunny's the dad. And he's like, hold on. I can help you in just a minute. I got to go for a quick swim run. And then he was like, instead of going to work or going to do something else, like I got to I got to go run to the store or anything like that. It was like, I have to get my swim run in.
That is funny. Yeah. Wow.
So that's swim run's a big part of our lives.
It totally is. Yeah. Yeah. Like Rocky, and Javi, they don't like, if they wake up in the morning and, dad's gone for a workout, like totally normal, he's at the pool, he'll be back, in half an hour or whatever like that. Like it's just part of our lives. Yeah.
Or our kids will wake up pretty much with Chipper. Then Chipper says, don't wake mom. And then he goes to his workout and the kids sit on the couch and try not to wake me up for as long as possible.
Yeah, that's great.
That's the real swim run spouse
That's
life.
That's right.
Well, it was fun sort of reflecting on this. And, I think it's cool seeing what they've built. So congratulations to the Low Tide Boyz on 200 episodes.
200. Pretty incredible.
And I think we are proud to say that we are such strong supporters of them and the podcast.
Yeah. Well, this was fun.
Yeah, this was fun.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this is the end of the Low Tide Wivez on this episode. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
That's it for this week's episode. Thanks so much for listening to the show. Make sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and leave a rating or review, since that's the best way to help other people discover the show and the sport of swim run.
Check out our website, lowtideboys.com. That's boys with a Z, for swim run resources, including gear guides, tips, how-to videos, and so much more. Make sure to check out our meme page at The Low Tide Boys on Instagram. If you have any questions or suggestions for the show, send us a DM or email us at lowtideboys@gmail.com.
We'd like to thank Riding Easy Records for our show music, and of course our wives for their support and tolerance of our swim run and other activities.
Lots of activities.
Lots of activities.
Finally, you can support our efforts on Patreon. Until next time, get out there and go for a swim.
Then a run.
And then a swim.
Then another run.
Then another swim.
Then run some more.
just keep going.
Let's go.
And then stop at some point because,
And fuel. Don't forget to fuel.
Gotta fuel
Of
too.
course, yes.